Hey everyone, you're listening to the Simple Electronics podcast. I'm your host, Dan from the Simple Electronics YouTube channel. And with me today, I've got a very special guest, Scott from the Defpom YouTube channel. How are you, Scott?
Good, thanks. How's it going, Dan?
It's going good. And before we start, Scott, are you well versed in computer hardware at all, or do you know anything about it?
I know a little bit about it. Depends what kind of computer it is, but yeah, I'm a bit out of date, I suppose.
Okay, so I just want to make an announcement, which may not mean anything to you, but it means the world to me. Today, May 20th, 2022, I had in my shopping cart on Best Buy's website, it's like an electronics retailer, a RTX 3070 Ti Founders Edition in my cart, and I put my credit card information in all, and I just looked at the total price, and I could have hit buy whenever I wanted to. I couldn't afford the total price, but I just want to let everyone know that's an achievement for me because
Oh,
they've been out of stock forever. A Founders
yeah.
Editions card, yeah, you just cannot get one. And if I could afford the 925 Canadian pesos or 927 Canadian pesos, I would have pulled the trigger. But I need to pay mortgage instead. So, yep, that was my announcement.
Yeah, I did look at the old RTX cards a while ago. I don't think that was one of them. This is a couple of years back now. Looking for my computer to sort of consider upgrades for mine because I'm using a fairly decent card on it. I can't remember what it is now, but it's an old one. But it's like, well, maybe I should think about updating that to a newer one. And well, never got around to it in the end. But I couldn't really find the thing I wanted because it seemed like it's quite pointless because what I've got now is doing everything I need. But I was thinking about upgrading the system software on a computer, as we discussed previously. And then I realised, well, there's no point because if I upgrade the system software to support the new card, that's one of the reasons I was going to do that. I wouldn't be able to do video recording or editing on it anymore because the system would then require me to update all my software. And, well, I don't want to spend that money.
Yeah, no doubt. But you have you have a Mac though. Do they work with Nvidia cards or do they have to be AMD cards? I thought they had to be AMD.
I'm not sure which version it is, but I know there's RTX cards which are available. You just need the right firmware on them.
Oh,
They can
interesting.
get them, yeah. I think that'd be like metal compatible. What's the thing they call these? Metal?
Oh,
I've got no idea. I don't know much about that, but
yeah,
yeah.
me too. I'm out of my depths when it comes to that. But what I am in my depths is for your new video series. So for those of you listening along at home, Scott's been working on a total like beginner series. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and how it's going?
It's going quite well. I've been quite enjoying the process, actually. I've been having requests over the years of doing YouTube, to cover some videos about basics, a bit of introduction about a certain component, or I'll get questions about a component or circuit asking, newbie questions, like people just want to learn the basics. And I was thinking that, well, some time ago, I was thinking I was going to do a big series on repairs, teaching people how to do repairs. And I'm still going to be doing that. But I thought, well, before I do a repair series, I kind of have to start earlier than that. So I've decided to do an entry level kind of teaching things. I'm starting at really basic principles, what some of these components are, what they look like, that sort of basic level. And I'm probably missing bits in it. And what I'm saying, I'm probably forgetting bits. And, yeah, it's easier to forget what people don't know rather than what they do know. And so I'm trying to cover it quite well. I actually gone back on one of the videos and actually done like a follow-up to one as well, just because I left too many gaps out, I think. But I'm basically covering basic components, and I'm working up and gradually increasing complexity of videos. So I've been covering things like, what is a resistor, what's a transistor, open collector outputs, a bit more technical, ICs, linear power supplies, and gradually going from that. I covered op amps, done some on Ohm's law, read relays and read switches, how they work, and what things to watch out for them. You would think that'd be simple, but not necessarily. And I've got about 15 more videos planned, which I haven't recorded yet, but they're planned. That's just on the beginner series. And I'm planning on doing 2 more series after this, which will be about test equipment you could use, beginner's test equipment or more advanced sort of things you should get and what you should look out for. And then after that, then I'll be doing the series of trying to teach a bit of repair, some of the repair principles and things I do when I'm doing diagnostics when I'm trying to fix things, and the way I think.
I have to say, I get those requests a lot too, to do the very basics videos, and also to get the like what should you buy? Like I don't know what it is, but I think it's choice paralysis that exists in the industry right now, because there's just a million choices for every single piece of your equipment that
Mm,
people, they don't want to compare A and B and C and D and all the way to Z. They just want to know, like, they just, beginners, they just want to know what to buy. So I
yeah.
get those requests a lot. So I was always thinking of doing a beginner series, but the absolute speed at which you're pumping these things out is like mind blowing.
I've been able to do 2 or 3 videos a day since I started doing these a week ago, basically. So that's what I've been able to achieve, which has been quite good. I don't know how long to keep that pace up for, because it is, as you know, creating videos is quite tiring. It takes a lot of time, and a lot of concentration and effort is required to do that. So at the moment, I have the energy to do that, so that's what I'm doing. I'll see how long I can keep that up. But the main thing is, because I've got ahead by so much right now, if I do back off a bit, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to produce a video every day. Because part of my target as well for doing this is to generate a video and publish a video every single day, for as long as I can. I want to try and do it for at least a month, and then see how far I can go beyond that. But I expect I should be able to do a couple of months, if I can keep the energy levels up.
Yeah, and once when you get that motivation, you have to kind of make hay while the sun shines, because I don't know about you, but I've been really struggling with motivation here. Making videos here, because um, I think we're in a little bit different situations, because you still have like a day job, but I haven't worked for like, I don't know, like 6 months, aside from the part time stuff, and so like I'm relying on making videos to pay mortgage, and that's why I couldn't buy the graphics card. So yeah, it's very weird that I get hit by these bouts of like non-productivity. But I'm really happy for you that you were able to get, 2, 3 videos done a day, because yeah, you're right. They are a pain in the butt to make sometimes. It takes a lot of uh I think the biggest part is like the self critique, right? When you're like recording, you're like, I shouldn't have said that line like that. And then you go back and
Mm.
whatever. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I
Oh,
know I
absolutely.
do for sure.
Yeah. There's times I might say the same thing 3 or 4 times. I'm not like Electro Boom. We might do it 50 times to make sure it gets it exactly right. I might do it 3 or 4 times and think, oh, yeah, it's good enough.
Yeah, that's another thing about our channels. I find in the electronic space, we're very pokey. Like we're very, I would say, true to form. Whereas in Electro Boom, who's managed to gather a much broader audience, he adds in like jokes, he adds in funny moments, he adds in the danger. Like his experiments do have a real danger. He has pyrotechnics added in. I mean, he is closer to Linus Tech Tips than Dave Jones, I find.
Yeah, I know he puts a lot of effort into his videos, so he does amazing work. I have to say, I know he does scripting and edits, and he does, obviously everything like we do. But I think he plans his videos out probably a lot better than I ever will. I don't script. I might sit down and sit at my desk for 5 minutes thinking, right, what am I going to do today? And then I'll sit down and record it. And that's pretty much where I come from. Um, yeah, generally, I mean, this beginner series I started recording, this is the most planning we've ever done. I've never done this planning before. All I've done is video titles. That's what I've planned. And then I'll sit down that morning and go, right, which ones am I going to do today? And I'll record them. So that's where I'm at right there. Um, Certainly, yeah, just the planning side of it is, I don't know, I find that bit draining, I suppose. I'm not really, um, I find that bit, I don't know, uninspiring, a bit boring, trying to plan things out and figure out what I'm going to do. I'd rather just sit down and do it and just waffle in front of a camera, and well, I'll do a fair bit of that.
Yeah, but I feel like I guess there's a little bit of difference between us, because like I feel like you're more of a Dave Jones type, where you have enough experience under your belt doing most of the things that you're filming. Not all of them, obviously, because there are some things you discover along the way, but you could just, plop down in front of the camera and explore a concept. Whereas someone like me, I could do that if I was talking about cars, for example, because that was my profession for the last, whatever, since 2006. I can't do math right now. But yeah, for electronics, I mean, I make a video, let's say, if I make a video Monday, by Friday, I'll probably have forgotten some of the things I had to learn in order to make that video. So I feel like the planning stage helps me, although I do hate doing it. Like I do much more, I prefer to do the live discovery type thing. But yeah, I think I need to do more planning personally.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Is it planning or is it self education? I mean, self education is certainly important, and I think it's typical for like 30% of it to be what's retained, and the rest of it you forget pretty quickly. After a year, I think it's like 10% or something like that. It's even less. So I think that's like the typical number, something like that. So it's not surprising that a lot of it's forgotten quite quickly. I mean, my memory is certainly a lot worse than it ever has been. It's been deteriorating in the past, I don't know, 10 years since I've been getting a bit older. And, I used to have an extremely good memory, and now I'm thinking, what did I do yesterday? I don't remember.
Yeah, my memory was never a good point, but like just to give my viewers some context, and probably your viewers too, you'll have to tell me if this applies to you. But I get comments sometimes on a video that's like, I don't know, 6 months old, and I have to go rewatch the video to try to figure out what they're talking about. Does that happen to you?
From time to time, yeah. I do remember quite a few of them. But a lot of times I do have to go back and just look at it and go, what are they talking about? Because I don't remember the context of the video. I remember making the video, and I remember kind of what it's about, but I won't remember the context entirely. So I might sometimes we'll have to go and watch it and go, okay, yes, what you're talking about. Then I'll be able to answer it maybe. But these days, because I'm getting a bit busier with the amount of comments and things that I'm trying to do, I'm finding it's less times available for me to actually deal with comments. So I'm actually finding it harder to deal with them and answer questions and things like that. So I'll answer them if I've got time, but I'm finding now that a lot of times all I can do is just put a heart on it and say, acknowledge that I've seen it and move on. That's basically all I can do really these days.
Yeah, and that's fair enough too. Um, I try to reply to every comment, but unfortunately, there are some comments that just have sort of like the premise of the comment is so wrong that I
Mm,
just don't have time to unpack. Like, it feels like sometimes people are trying to correct me in my comments, which, whatever, it's fine. I don't mind. But sometimes that their premise is so wrong that I would have to do a whole video explaining why they were wrong and why they think I'm wrong. You know that type of thing. Do you get that
yeah,
too?
yeah, definitely do, definitely do. I mean, I'm quite fortunate. I think a lot of my viewership is actually quite experienced with electronics, so I do get some really good feedback. There's things which I certainly don't know everything, not by far. So I'm self-taught. So there's lots of gaps in my knowledge. And I actually appreciate a lot of comments I get, which may be filling in some of those gaps. So I generally have quite good viewership in that way. A lot of them will be quite positive, constructive feedback. But you do get the odd one here or there. I actually had a couple the other day, actually, which were just nonsense. But you get that as part of being a YouTuber, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. The more experienced ones, those are all appreciated. I don't want to discourage anybody from commenting. The some of the more experienced people are like, well, why didn't you do it like X, Y, and Z? And it's like, because I didn't know.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
those.
Yeah.
But there's some that are really like out to lunch. Like my one of my most popular videos before my battery video exploded in popularity was a MT38 3608 or something like that. Anyways, a boost module, and basically the chip, the 8-pin chip on that module, um, I got 10 modules or 20 modules, and like 15 of them had like different part numbers on them. It felt like they just stuck whatever they had in the bin.
Well,
And yeah, and you just plugged it in, and the chip would be shorted or whatever, and it would catch fire. And so I had a little switch mode power supply, which was being fed by like a plug pack. and that switch mode power supply had an absolute maximum output of about 3 amps. So I set it to I don't think I had a current limit on it, and I plugged it in, and the chip was shorted, so it like literally like caught fire, and the only thing that saved me from that chip like exploding in my face basically is that little switch mode power supply um, capped the current at 3 amps.
Hmm.
And I got a ton of comments telling me, well, of course it blew up. The maximum output of the module has to be like 1 amp, and you pushed 3 amps through it. And it's like, no, I didn't push any current.
Well, yeah.
Like it, and the only thing on the other end of the module was my multimeter. So it was 10 mega ohm resistance, like in
So,
voltage mode, right? So
yeah,
there's
obviously
no
people
way.
don't realise that it's not that much. The current is drawn from the supply, not pushed from the supply.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, so I answered, about 15 of those, but after that, it's like, man, like I don't have the energy to do the explaining that needs to happen here. Some of them are absolutely accurate, but others are just like, my God,
Maybe that's
like
something I should do a video on, actually. With my
that's
beginner
not
series, actually, I should add that to my list. I'll do
that
that
is
right
not a
now.
bad idea. That is actually a really good idea because I do see on, I don't know, do you frequent the DIY electronics and those places on Reddit?
I have them in my collection of things to look at, but I don't tend to go that often.
Okay, because in there's quite a few people asking. They're like, "Oh, I lost the plug pack for my XYZ, and it says, 12 volts, 2 amps, and I have this other plug pack which is 12 volts, 12 amps, and a friend told me I couldn't use it because it would blow up my thing." And it's like, no, you have to explain that. No,
Yeah,
that's a maximum on your plug pack, and the maximum needs to be higher than what you need, right? So
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so
that is
I've had
another
a note
thing.
there. So I'm going to be doing a video on this now. So that's in my list.
Excellent. And you know what? I think I'm going to commit to making a video on that too, because I think it's been asked enough times. And
Hmm.
like you were saying on your live stream, sometimes the video on the same subject can push each other forward, right? They get
Yeah,
more different voices,
definitely. Because
which
you also
is
get things where YouTube will then maybe suggest your video next to theirs when they're playing, watching your video, or someone else's video. They might get suggested as not as a similar video to watch in the sidebar there. So it gives you a chance to get more exposure as well by sharing and overlapping those subjects. So I think it's actually quite good to do that kind of thing.
how has your series been received so far? How are the comments? How are the thumbs up? How are those things?
They've actually been really good for the first few. I've actually had like 100% thumbs up on them, no thumbs down at all. But that's probably going to change. People would like to prove you wrong, and that's been. I think the first couple had really good views, and it's gradually dropped down from there. But then what I actually had is I'd added them to a playlist and had them as hidden. So they were still viewable because they're within a playlist, but they weren't published. So people went through the playlist and found them, watched them already. So there's a few there which have already been seen by people, even though they're not actually publicly available yet. So there's been a few cheaters, but that's fine. That's all right. So I'm actually changing the way I'm doing it now. But the actual feedback on it's been really good. It gets some good comments, and I haven't had anything negative yet, but I'm sure that'll come.
Anything like constructive criticism wise, or still just pretty much positive?
Yeah, it's been nothing there saying I'm doing anything wrong, but I'm sure that will come. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be things which I miss when I'm doing these videos because I'm just sitting at a desk and just talking to a camera with almost no preparation. So I may research a couple of things to make sure I can get some certain like overlays to put on the screen, so I can find some overlays which I can talk about within the video. I've done that a few times to make sure that they are fairly coherent, but that's basically it. So there will be things which I'm doing in these videos that I'll be missing things. I'll be overlooking something which I should be saying or should be covering in more detail. I mean, I know there's some times where I think after I've edited it, I go, yeah, I should have covered a bit more on that. And I might put some more text in the video and that sort of stuff to try and help alleviate that. But I know there will be things I'll be missing.
And for those of you listening to this podcast, there will be a link to that playlist in the description of either this on YouTube or the show notes on your podcast provider. I do recommend you guys go take a look at least the first couple of videos and the whole thing if you can, and let Scott know what you thought. I think that comments, especially well thought out, reasoned comments, about improvements or about what you did like or about what you didn't like, are very important to the creative process. And especially Scott is working on doing more of these. And so your feedback is the most valuable now while there's something he can do about it. Would you agree with that, Scott?
Absolutely. I mean, everyone wants to get feedback of some kind to know if they're doing the right thing or not, or if they're potentially overlooking something which should be covered in more detail. I mean, whilst I'm creating this series, like I've just done with your suggestion, is I can just chuck a video in there and say, let's do one about that. Because, maybe I think, which one was it I did a revisit on? I forgot which one it was now. Transistors. I've
Was
got a
it
second video on
okay?
transistors. So I did one video on transistors, and I went back and did on the second video covering some other aspects which I completely missed in the first one. Because I thought, well, actually, I've missed a whole bunch of really important stuff there. So I actually made a second video about transistors as well.
Did you cover transistors as amplifiers or just as switches?
So in the very first one, I basically did it as just as switches and some basic transistor information. And then this follow up, I went a bit deeper in that. It talked about amplifiers, biasing, NPN versus PNP, and stuff like that, and drew some example circuits up. Some really basic stuff about how they function. So I went in a bit more depth in that one in the second video.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I put in a lot of work in 2020, June of 2020, so almost 2 years ago, into a basic video on transistors as switches. And I was very disappointed to see that it was not well received. It got probably like 400 views and it just kind of died there. But recently, in the last year or so, 6 months or so, the video has been climbing steadily, and it went from around 400 views. It's now up close to just about 12,000 views.
That's good.
So it's one of those things. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like a slow discovery thing. It's taking a little bit, but obviously there is some there's some space in the market for it. It's just it needs to be found first. So
Yeah,
if your series is it's a very slow uptake, give it a year or two, maybe it'll become one of the more popular series on YouTube.
absolutely. I've had that with several videos where when I first published them, it's been a complete flop. It's just been absolute disaster. It's been like 150, 200 views, and it's really bad for me. And then 3 months later, suddenly it's got 5,000 views. And I go back and look at it and go, oh, okay, it's picking up. And then sometimes I found one of my videos is actually now one of my most popular videos in my top 10, which was a flop at the very beginning.
Yeah, this happens a lot. Like, for example, that transistor video, at the moment, it's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh highest viewed in the last 48 hours. It's getting a constant about 100 to 120 views every 48 hours, which is it's not a lot for the big channels, but for a small channel like mine, that's significant.
Yeah, and the thing is, as you produce more and more content, as you think, oh, one video is doing that, but when you've got 100 videos to do that, it's doing a lot better. I mean, once you've got 1,000 videos doing that, it's a lot better again. So, it's a cumulative effect between all the output you've produced. And some will do better than others. Some will go up and down. I've had videos which have been really rubbish and not performed, and performed really well and gone through the roof, and then just died again because YouTube's no longer interested in that one. And it happens.
Oh, absolutely. Are you the type that do you play with your thumbnails? Do you go and remake a thumbnail on a underperforming video or anything like that?
No, once it's done, it's done. I don't go back to it.
Okay, fair enough. Because there are some people now who are taking the approach of like remaking thumbnails, and that's not, I've got like, yeah, whatever, like 450 videos. I'm not going to start remaking thumbnails, but it does seem like a valid strategy to get more views sometimes. I'm just wondering if you were messing with that.
I think I've only done it maybe twice because I looked at a video later on, or looked at it in my phone or something, realised the thumbnail wasn't particularly visible or wasn't really highlighting the aspects I wanted, and then I've gone and tweaked it then. But it's only been about 2 or 3 times at most. It's not been very often I've had to do that. Generally I try and take more care now than I ever have with trying to do thumbnails. But there's also been times when it's been a video I haven't even done a thumbnail. I've used YouTube's default screenshot, and that's fine. That'll do. And I've had a couple of those actually performed really well. It just goes against everything you learn.
It's funny because if you go into the YouTubers or the starting YouTube or whatever subreddits, you'll see pile of stuff there. I'm not sure if, well, I mean, his username is public and he does post a lot. But anyways, he's in there all the time telling people, make sure your thumbnails are good, make sure, audio clarity. He tells, all the beginner tips.
Yeah.
But then every single one of his videos are the YouTube, one of the 3 pre-selected thumbnails every single time. It's absolutely hilarious to me that he goes into Reddit and telling people how to make thumbnails, because I mean, he's right. You should
Absolutely,
pay
yeah.
attention to your thumbnails, but he doesn't bother himself, and he gets at least 3x the views that I get, and usually more like 5x.
Yeah, it's
but
funny,
then
isn't
again,
it? The basic. You think that you put the effort into a thumbnail, you try and make it stand out, you may try and make it unique, and you try and make it into a format which is recognisable to you. So it's always the same kind of design, so people can see the thumbnail and go, I know who that is. And they can, if they're one of your followers, then they might come and click on that video because they want to see what you've made next. But there's also the concept of, well, is it worth the effort? Because sometimes it seems to be a waste of time. I mean, the argument is that when you do a thumbnail, that's what people see, that's what people click on, that's what makes them come watch a video in the first place. Then you got to try and make them stay, and that's the other hard part.
Oh, definitely. And I'm not trying to make fun of Pile of Stuff, because his content is awesome.
Yeah, he does a really good job. Yeah,
but I do get bored making thumbnails, and that's why sometimes I end up with thumbnails with jokes in them that are only amusing to me because nobody ever comments on them, or some combination of the number 69420 or something like that. Sometimes I go through extreme lengths to get those numbers in there. And then nobody comments on it.
I'm going to watch out for that more now.
Yeah. So one of my thumbnails, I'm gonna see if I can look for it. It's a oh yeah, there we go. Digital panel meters. Let me see if I can go to that. Yeah, so I have a 6.9 volts going through it at 4.2 4.20 amps.
I think I remember seeing that one, actually. Yeah, I did notice that
both. Yeah, so I got both 69 and 420, and I want to tell you the amount of effort I had to go through to trim the read-in power supply to get exactly those numbers on the screen.
See, I would have done it a different way. I would have just photoshopped it. I would have put the digits in there electronically in the image.
No, because the thumbnail is for my entertainment. So for me, it's worth more having it, for real. But you're right. I have fudged some of those numbers before by erasing one of the segments on a 7-segment display.
Yeah.
But yeah, I trimmed the read-in RD 6018 down till I got the exact figure I wanted, and then I had to take 6 photos because of the shutter speed. It was only showing, some of the digits were less visible. So I was like, oh no, I keep taking photos until the shutter
display, yeah.
Exactly, until it synced up. So that's my story on my thumbnails.
I've done similar things within the actual videos as well. I have from time to time, I've done it for a while actually, I should do it again, because I'd sneak in little bits of text in within the video. So I'd actually put subscribe in there or something like that and put it on a display of a meter or something, and it was just sitting there. So, just put a gentle hint in there. Then little things I think this when I was doing some of the Datron multimeters I was repairing, I think I had something on one of those. I had it say to subscribe across the display and things like that. So
nice.
That took ages.
But I love little Easter eggs like that.
Yeah, but I haven't done it for a while. I should do some more of those actually.
I don't know if he'd like me saying, but one of another maker's videos at the end when he's doing the wrap up, he's soldering at the end, but the iron is cold. He used another iron and he was holding it by the hot end. I noticed right away, but I don't think many people noticed. Like it's just these little things, you know. And again, it comes back to the same thing, right? Where we need to entertain ourselves because it does take a lot of concentration and energy and effort to make videos. So at least that's why I do it.
Yeah, yeah. It certainly is nice to put those little things in there and then see if somebody notices. It certainly is quite nice. I mean, when I've done those little bits of text before, as I said before, I've had a few comments on them, but there's been times where no one has noticed. No, and I think, oh, it's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's well, welcome to my life. Like all my thumbnails. So I had when I was actually working a lot, I had money, and I grew up not in a poor family, but like in a middle class family, which we didn't know anything about saving money or anything. The only reason I know of the concept of saving money is because my wife is like basically a saver. So when I was full
Yeah, mine
time,
too. Mine's the same. She
yeah,
saves
same
well.
thing, huh? There we go. So when I was full time, and I had I had extra money because I was renting at the time, and the market wasn't crazy like it is now. Um, I got into photography, so I have really expensive lenses left over from those days. So all my thumbnails are shot with this beautiful 105 millimeter f2.8 Nikon macro lens, basically. And so that's how I get the beautiful bokeh, like the beautiful blur in the
Mm,
background of all these tiny little things. Like some of my thumbnails are like a board that's only a couple centimeters by a couple centimeters, and they become like massive on the screen. And yeah, it's a little bit sad that it's not like appreciated, I guess, the way I expect it to be, because it's fancy. Like I think there's one that I torture tested some USB cables, and like the USB plug is like 2/3 of the thumbnail. So it's like that's quite a bit of magnification there.
mm. Yeah, I find the same thing. I try to remember to take photos when I'm doing my videos in order to grab, a shot which is nice for the thumbnail. And the amount of times I actually forget to do it. I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I still forget to take photos for the thumbnail. The amount of times I have to go into the video and try and grab a screenshot of a frame from the video because I thought that one looks kind of okay, but the quality is nowhere near the same. Um,
No.
and the other thing I always do, I mean, you said about getting the bokeh effect and you get the nice blurring in the background. The lens I use on my camera, I try and get a decent depth of field because I'm forever having to change the focusing on it because I use manual focus, don't use auto on it. So for me, I try to have as big a depth of field as I can, and so I'm not actually getting that same effect. So what I actually do is on my thumbnails is I sit in there with Photoshop with a blur tool and paint it out with a blur tool to make it blurred in the background.
So here's a do you do it gradually, or do you do everything but your subject is blurred?
Well, basically, it's just a paintbrush tool, so you just go around and just paint out the bits you want to be blurry. So you can
Okay.
just choose which bits.
So here's what I do if I have to use a large depth of field is I will duplicate the layer in Photoshop, and then I'll use the quick select tool, and I'll just grab the foreground item
Yeah,
and then of the top layer, and then I think it's Control Shift I don't know what it is on Mac, but it'll select the opposite,
yep, the
and
inverse,
then
yep,
you delete it, and then you go down one layer and you apply the blur to that entire layer, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
your foreground object will become crystal clear, will stay crystal clear, and your background will blur.
yeah.
But
I
just
found,
so
I
the
found for
viewers know,
me, it depends on what you're actually trying to capture. I find like trying to go around the outline of an item or a scene and try and get that nice outline without messing it up. I find that more tedious than sitting there painting it out with a brush. So that's why I tend to use that method. I've used both techniques. But
Oh,
I
okay.
definitely, I've used the same way you said. I've done it as well in the past. But if it's something which is quite boxy, like nice and square, rectangular kind of shape, then absolutely take an outline, and invert it and blur the outside easy. Um, but a lot of times it's weird shapes, and it's a bit hard to try and follow like curves and things like that. And obviously you've got the magnetic tool we could use, which does help, but it's not perfect.
Yeah, it was just a thought.
Mm.
Um, and then I had Robert Dunn on here, and he uses basically the similar technique that I mentioned, or similar that you do too with the blur.
Mm.
But then the blurry parts, he'll actually drop the saturation on it, so it's a little bit white, so it
Okay.
gives a little bit more contrast, and at the same time, like the white became his sort of his style,
Oh yeah,
and also it gives you a brighter thumbnail because apparently brights are better for thumbnails. So
that's
I
what the people say. Yeah,
yeah, so
I actually did an experiment
another
once. I
idea.
actually did a thumbnail once just to see what would happen. I did it in grayscale, and
And what
it didn't change anything. It was exactly the same performance as everything else.
interesting.
Yeah,
I wonder if that has more to do with your core audience. Like I wonder if the metrics show that it's mostly people who already watch your channel that watched it. I wonder if brighter is better for discovery, and for your people who are, your core audience, it doesn't matter maybe. Who knows?
it's quite likely. Yeah, it's quite likely because the thumbnail is about attracting new people to come and click on it. I mean, everyone that's already following you, they're going to be watching through the videos, so they'll be checking their subscription feed and see if there's anything new for that day. So,
Yeah, very true. I actually have most of my videos. I go through the subscription feed, not all of them, because there are some channels where I don't really subscribe to. It's like their videos, like usually video game playthroughs, where I like one specific game, but during the course of a week they'll release four episodes of four different games, and I really not interested. So
yeah.
there are some that I go on the homepage for, but most of my stuff I do go through the subscribe section.
Yeah, I actually really miss the fact that YouTube doesn't send out email notifications anymore because that was really convenient.
Oh, not even with the bell?
No, really. I think it only occasionally works. I think it's basically live streams will be the ones to come up. Anything else, not so much.
Interesting. So, on the WAN show, Linus of Linus Tech Tips, he was saying that they stopped as a company encouraging the clicking of the bell,
Mm.
because what was happening is people were, going about their day. The Linus Tech Tips video would release, and then people would get notifications on their phones. So they'd pull up the email, click the link, say, "Oh, okay, that's interesting. I'll watch this later," and then click off the video
Oh
until
yeah,
they got home. And it was hurting their metrics because
yeah.
their videos were getting pushed less. So he is saying, don't encourage the bell anymore.
Oh, okay,
He's
makes sense.
That's his personal decision, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, if it's an email notification and people don't watch it, yeah, because YouTube does look at people going to videos and then leaving because they're not watched it, or they're leaving really early, because they then consider that as an indication of a less interesting video for that person.
I think that's exactly like,
Mm.
it makes sense to me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any non-electronics YouTubers that you watch?
Oh god, I've got a massive list of YouTubers I watch. Um, this old Tony engineering, he does lots of
Okay,
really
yep.
entertaining videos. That's one that comes to mind. Um, I don't know. A
The
lot of the
sad
ones I
part
do
about
is electronics based. That's the thing.
Oh, that makes sense. The sad part about this old Tony is I just can't get enough. Like, he puts in so much work in his videos. Every video is like a masterpiece,
Mm,
but that means we have to wait usually 3 weeks, 3 to 6 weeks between his releases.
yeah, yeah, but you could say it's worth the wait. It does do some really entertaining and very well thought out videos.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt on the quality of his work. It's just man, if just he could have like a team or something so he can pump out more content, I would be so happy.
Mm. Definitely. I'm just trying to think where else I actually subscribe to which aren't electronics based. I mean, I've got a massive list of people which I do watch, and there's a guy called Marty T or Marty Y, I think it is. I think it's Marty T. He's a New Zealand YouTuber, and he's does lots of repairs of mechanical things like diggers and things like that, and things he happens to come across, or fixing boats or whatever. He does all kinds of things just in his normal day to day, going around doing things in a rural atmosphere. And he makes quite some interesting content, but things like that. I'm quite interested in mechanical stuff as well, so I've got a little bit of background in mechanical stuff to a degree, so that interests me as well. So, I don't know. It's probably a split between probably 75% electronic and 25% mechanical kind of related stuff.
Okay, fair enough. And is YouTube, like, do you watch YouTube sort of as a pastime, or do you have other pastimes that are not YouTube and electronics?
I probably watch
Because it's
YouTube a bit every day. I think a lot of us do, really. But yeah, I certainly watch some every day. And my other pastimes, well, YouTube is now my pastime, I suppose. Actually, just making content because that just takes up so much time. So, I mean, outside of that, I don't tend to tinker around much with other things which I'm not recording. If I'm making something or I'm building something or fixing something, I'm usually doing a video on it these days.
Yeah, me too. And you know what? Adam Savage from the Mythbusters and Savage Builds, and I don't know what else. Well, I guess Tested, the YouTube channel. He is also saying that he does do some things off camera, but he feels guilty about it. Like,
Yeah, I can actually relate to that too. Yeah, it's things
me
I've
too.
done. I think I should be recording this.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And at least, yeah, at least for me, I think I've cast. I call myself simple electronics, but really I've done 3D printing stuff. I've done remote control stuff. I've kind of spread myself wide enough that I think my audience kind of they'll accept kind of whatever I show them. It seems like they drew the line at fishing though. they
All
don't
right.
they do they don't want to see that because I added some fishing stuff into the mailbags, but as a sixth item, as a compromise.
Hmm.
And my god, it seems very polarizing. Some people say we don't care, just put it in the mailbag, and some people say not interested at all, doesn't belong on this channel. So yeah, so the compromise is I add a sixth item, and that's the off topic item. And
Oh
then I
yeah.
have the second channel, which now fishing season starts tomorrow, or in fact in 2 hours 10 minutes. And so when I do go out fishing, it'll be on the secondary channel, which is SE Con Dairy, for those of you listening at home.
Make sure you put a link down below.
Yeah, I shall put a link down below. And speaking of, while you're down below, you might as well go over to Scott's channel and hit that subscribe button. I think
Yeah,
that's
that'd
a
be
good
good.
idea.
Yeah, I like that idea. It's a good idea.
So what else are you working on, Scott?
Well, aside from those obviously videos I talked about, I've been doing a bunch of reviews recently. I've had a few things come in. I've done some brand new Kaiwitz multimeter reviews. They've just been released, and they were supposed to get arrived to me before they even got released, but they only just arrived yesterday. So I've just did reviews for those this morning. Fluke has generously sent me some more gear via my contact at Pomona, which has been great. So I've got a new multimeter from Fluke to review as well. So those are all part of my multimeter review series, which I'm building up, that big playlist I'm doing. If multimeter I get, I'll be doing a review on, chuck them in that playlist as well for people which are looking for multimeters and trying to decide what to get and what their features and limitations are. Yes, that's what I've done. Those ones, I think I did. Yes, 4 reviews for that gear alone, just the Fluke and the Kaiwitz. There's 4 reviews which I've recorded the past 2 days. But yeah, it's just trying to plan out. I've got a list of videos. I don't know. I think I've got 3 months worth of videos, which are either ideas or already recorded. And that's how far ahead I am. I think, about 2 months ahead of my mailbag videos, which means I keep having to shuffle things around. Like when I get something for like a review, I like to do those fairly timely. I don't like to leave them too long before I actually publish those. So I have to keep shuffling my mailbag videos down later to fit those ones in, because I obviously have to shape arriving first, then doing the review on it. So I have to keep shoving those in the front. So because I'm messing up my system, which is a bit annoying, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. I yeah. Hold on. Just I was gonna say something, but then my brain exploded. Um, oh yeah, Fluke. If you're listening, did you just hear what we said about similar videos pushing each other up in popularity and driving sales? Just saying, I've got a PO box in my description. If you just you want to send stuff my way. Now, don't take anything away from Scott to send to me, but I'm just saying, extra stuff can
I
always come
think
to
I'm,
Canada.
yeah, I think I'm pretty well kitted out with Fluke gear now. I don't think I need anything else, so I could always have Wood in my contact and see if he wants to send you anything.
I mean, I will definitely not say no. I am. I'll tell you, I am a true and true Fluke fanboy because at the shop where I work, the manufacturer requires us to have certain gear. So that is like a certain tire machine, a certain balancer, and part of the electrical kit is the Fluke 87V,
Mm-hmm.
87.5V.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
But that thing is a total beast. Now, in my
yeah. That's
trade,
what they just sent me.
you, the V or
Yeah,
the next
85
one?
series, 87 series 5. That's what it is. Yeah, that's what they just
Oh
sent me.
man, that is so. We get a whole bunch of apprentices like right off the street, and this is a shop use multimeter, so anybody can walk up, in the shop and use it. And this thing has been through hell for the last, God, I think it was there when I started.
Mm.
So, since 2006, and the only thing we've had to do is replace the test leads twice. But the Fluke itself, it's been battered, it's been dropped, it's been it's been smashed over running engines on the belts. Like, this thing is a beast. It
Yeah.
takes a beating and says, "Can I have some more?"
Well,
And
it's
the
not called an
87,
industrial multimeter for nothing.
no, for sure. And the 87V is specifically like automotive use, because you'll see it has like RPM detection and stuff like
I
that
think
on
it
it.
is the 88's got the RPM on it.
Is it the 88? Oh, maybe I'm thinking about
Yeah,
the 88V.
yeah. I was looking at that earlier today, actually. So the 88's got the automotive stuff built into it. The 87 is more generalized.
Oh yeah. So okay. Yeah, I got my flukes all backwards, I guess. But anyways, the thing is a monster. And if I found out how much they are. They're like $600 Canadian.
Mm.
They
They're not
are
cheap,
expensive.
but that's why they last. They're built like a tank. This is what the Fluke's reputation is built on: is the fact that their gear is robust, and you can rely on it. That's the thing with Fluke. That's why people like Fluke, because they are actually designed to be good. I mean, sure, you get these budget brands which you might pay a fraction of the price for, but is it still going to be around 20 years? I've dropped on the floor.
Was it Dave Jones? I think he was saying that the flukes have like a lifetime warranty or something. I'm not
I
sure if
think
that's
it is
true.
Dave said something like that. Yes, I don't remember the details of it exactly, but yeah, I know you can buy parts. They've got all the parts listed in the manuals, and actually you can buy parts if you break something. You can get spares.
Yeah, that is a big thing. I mean, I am a giant proponent of right to repair. I believe that you should have the right to get stuff fixed. Like, there's no reason why we should be throwing out so many things.
Oh yeah, it drives
And
me
I mean,
nuts.
yeah, it's ridiculous. And sometimes it's like something so simple, like my parents had a electric kettle that they were just going to throw out because it stopped working. And I said, just can I look at it first? And they said, sure. So I looked at it. The thermal fuse had gone.
Yeah.
And so all I did was I went on Amazon. I got 6 thermal fuses for like $5. And then I crimped one in the position where the other one was. Like, I just replaced it with, it's just crimp on. It's so easy.
Mm,
And now it works fine. It's been over a year now.
mm,
And so, like, and honestly, I mean, they were going to spend another $60 on another kettle. But aside from the price, this kettle is going in the trash.
yeah, yeah. I mean, this is part of my fundamental reason for doing repair stuff as well, is because I don't like to see good things or potentially fine things thrown out for very little cost or very little reason. I mean, today's society is, I don't know, I hate the thing really in the way that it's just a throwaway society. You buy it, throw it away. It's designed to last 1 or 2 years. Oh, look, we will sell you a new one when that one breaks. Well, how about you make it properly in the first place? It doesn't break. That's my point of view. Build it properly.
Yeah, and you know what? Even if something breaks because of misuse, there still should be a way to fix it. Like
Absolutely.
the the whole like I don't live that far from my college job. Like it's not quite walkable. It's just over an hour of walk. But on a bicycle or on a, an e-bike or something, it'd be super quick. So I was looking into a one wheel for a period of time. And then I decided, I couldn't afford it, so I put it out of my mind. But honestly, at this point, seeing what one wheel is doing now, I would never ever buy one because they're like repairability score of like -1. Like I think Lewis Rossman was saying you can't even unplug the battery because volatile memory gets lost. And then when you
Yeah.
plug it back in, it's bricked.
There was some debate about that, wasn't there? There was the one will try to say that that's not the case or something. So I don't actually know what the real story is there. Whether there's one's not right, one's misunderstood. I don't know, but yeah, it certainly doesn't look good on the surface, at least.
No, I think one wheel was because there was a story of someone who wanted to try a different wheel, and he had a friend who had that different wheel, and so they decided to ship each other their wheels. It's like the motor, the hub, and everything.
Mm.
And then one guy's wheel got lost in the mail,
Oh,
and so he contacted one wheel and said, "Yeah, I need to buy another one." And then the person had to like find out or whatever if that was possible, and they said they could only do a repair under warranty if they had all of the parts, no matter what condition they're in.
yeah, it's ridiculous,
And
isn't
the
it?
and the yeah, and the guy said, "Well, I'm not asking for warranty because the shipping company lost the part. I just want to pay you to, send me another motor or me send you my board and then you put another motor in." And then they said, "Oh, we don't do that," or something like that. And it's
Mm.
like, are you kidding? Like you guys assembled it. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And I'd have to look at the details because I know Lewis Rossman had to do a retraction on something. But I mean, that's ridiculous. That's insane. Like, why wouldn't you
Uh,
sell just a motor or at least take it back and fix it for a cost, right?
yeah, well, I think some of it's partly is bureaucracy as well. I mean, sometimes it's the company policy is a certain way. You can't deviate from that policy. This is it or nothing. And then sometimes there is no flexibility there in those rules, and it's just taken to the extreme, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I don't think anything should be to that level of extreme. I think that's my issue because I mean, you and I are perfectly qualified enough to plug in, a motor leads and an encoder lead and boot the thing up.
Hmm.
And I understand not everyone is, but I mean, someone like you or I mean, I work on cars that are way more expensive and way more complex than a one wheel. I can promise you that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can understand from a business perspective not wanting to send out a part and have you potentially screw it up and then complain that it's their fault, you got it wrong. I know that sort of stuff would definitely go on, but there's no reason why they shouldn't accept you sending them what you've got and have them repair it for you. There's no reason why they can't do that. Really, it just seems ridiculous.
I agree. I agree, and that's similar. I think Linus from Linus Tech Tips had the same issue. They tore down a Mac. The Mac computers that are all built into the screen.
IMAX.
Yeah, iMacs. So they pulled the screen off, and they had a spark go off or something, which startled the tech, and then he dropped the screen.
Oh, yeah, remember that one? Yeah, took them ages to
Yeah,
get a
and
screen
then
sorted afterward. Yeah.
and they would not sell him
Mm.
parts.
Yeah.
They wouldn't allow him to get at one of their techs to fix it. Like nothing. Like honestly, they said there's no amount of money that he could spend, even at Apple, for Apple to do the repair.
Yeah.
They just straight up refused, which doesn't make sense. And
Well,
Apple
because they want
said,
to sell you a new computer.
yeah, I
That's what it comes down
realize
to.
that. But it's like, that's ridiculous because that other computer is going in the trash.
No, it won't. They go to recycling centre, they'll repair it and send it back out as a recycled unit, as a
Yeah.
refurb.
Yeah.
So it's not going to get
Very
chucked out.
likely.
They will fix it behind the scenes. That's what will happen.
Yeah. That's brutal. I mean, to me, that's unacceptable, that kind of behavior. They
Yeah.
finally did get it fixed, by the way, for those of you listening.
Yeah, they did. But it's a rigmarole. I remember seeing that one. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that
it was
sort of
like,
policy is what I think is just completely wrong. It's all about commercial interest and making maximum profits and the total greed of it all. I mean, I'm a Mac fanboy, right? To a point. I think I used to be a Mac fanboy. It's probably more accurate. I've always had Macs. I've had Macs for, God, 30 years. Right? And I definitely prefer the Mac ecosystem over the PC side. But what I'm seeing them doing in more recent years, since Steve Jobs died, especially, it's definitely got worse since then, is that they've now been more profit focused. Instead of being about the user and satisfying the user and what the users want, it's about making maximum profits for the company. That seems to be their current focus, and that's the impression I'm getting, at least. That's my opinion. So it just seems that way, and I don't really like that whole commercial greed thing, because it's like you've got all this money, it's the richest company in the world sort of thing, and it's not enough. I mean, where do you stop?
there is no stopping. And I don't even think, and I don't think you were saying this, but I don't even think that's so much an Apple problem. But
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen, like, companies seem to be quarter to quarter management at the moment. Like,
Mm.
they will sacrifice future quarters to make sure this quarter is, above expectation.
Yeah, the short-term thinking
They're,
and maximising gains, and it's like, well, we can't be satisfied with $1 billion profit. Why do you have to get 1.1 billion? Isn't a billion enough? Kind of thing. Really? I mean, this is just ridiculous. It's just
yeah,
corporate greed.
and I think it's tied to CEO bonuses too, because if you think about it, that's what they're incentivized to do. Like, they're going to get their bonus, and then, let's say, whatever they needed to do to get their bonus this year makes them drop in profit next year. Then they're going to get ousted out of the company, get a massive severance, and then just go do the same thing at the next company.
Yeah,
It's like, it's win-win for these guys. But it's the people on the floor and on the factory floors, the salespeople, the techs. Those are the people who always lose out on these things. It's sad to say.
yeah. Well, I think really the one that loses out the most is the economy and the actual environment, because there's so much wastage as a result of all this stuff. There's stuff they're doing to be pushing this greed profile where it's all about trying to sell you another product. So they don't care if it breaks in 2 years' time. Even though if they make a slight design change, it might last you 5 years. Because that's going to impact their profits by twice, isn't it? They will tell you twice as many things if it breaks in 2 years instead of 5. So,
Oh, definitely.
so that's where their thinking is right now. How do we get more sales? That's what's driving it, getting more sales. And I think that's wrong. It should be, how do we get better customer satisfaction? What do we do to keep customers happy so they come back when the product does eventually fail?
Oh, I 100% agree. I agree, and that's why I think, not to be too political here, but I think we as a planet need to sort of legislate sort of right to repair and extend warranties and stuff like that, like force them to, because they're right now they're already bending rules that are in place. So you got to make those rules stronger, and you got to apply more rules. I mean, it's just going to have to happen.
Yeah, yeah. It's a shame. Though. I mean, it's just the whole wastage thing really drives me nuts. I just think it's so incredibly bad for everyone, really. Long term, it's this whole short term thinking it's not good for anyone in the end.
No, it's like farting in an elevator, really,
Mm.
because we all have to smell it. It just is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see if we can muscle up some sort of more positive topic, because we're
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
towards the
Now,
end
now
here.
we've done some ranting. We can move on.
Yeah. So what are you actually here? What are you looking forward to? Maybe a subject or a video that you're looking forward to tackle once this whole beginner series thing is done.
I don't know. It's just like a never-ending process, really. It's like I don't know. Sort of. I don't actually have anything I'm particularly looking forward to doing. It's just I just make videos. I just plod through them, and usually when I get like a new piece of test gear, which needs fixing, which I've picked up, which is broken off eBay, those are the sorts of things I look forward to. I've got a couple of things coming, but not particularly exciting ones. I don't think one of them might be, but yeah, it's usually a case of when I get a new piece of broken test gear, which I want to get stuck into and start fixing. That's probably the thing I enjoy doing the most. So that's probably what I look forward to, really, rather than a specific video as such. It's just getting into bits of test gear and fixing it. That's what I look forward to.
Hey, fair enough. I mean, I've got green energy projects coming up very shortly. I've got a solar panel here, a couple little solar panels. I need to run wires through my entire backyard, which sucks because my backyard is very, very narrow, but very, very long. And the only spot I can put a solar panel is like near the end of it because my house casts a shadow on top of
Oh
my
right,
backyard,
yeah, you don't want
basically.
shadows, yeah.
Yeah. So I've got that, but I've actually got a company sent me a power bank, one of those, lithium battery things with the inverter built in
Oh yeah, but
and
like
12
he's
volt
like
DC.
Julian Illet's been doing a bunch of those, hasn't he? He's done some of those.
He has. Yeah. So all those companies turned me down.
Oh really?
but one, well, I don't know about turn me down, but not answered. So
Yeah, yeah, another one. Yeah.
yeah. So, but one company, which has offices here in Ontario, they seemed more than happy to send me their top of the range model. So I'll be taking a look at that. But also, I'm going to be, setting up those giant lead acid batteries I found in the trash.
Oh yeah.
Um, some wires that have been in my dad's basement for the last 20 years.
Just make
And
sure
I'm
you
going to,
fuse both ends of the wires.
pardon me?
Make sure you fuse both ends of the wires.
What do you mean both ends?
So
Like,
the end of the solar panels and the end of the batteries. If you fuse both ends.
oh, oh, fuse. I heard use. I was like, how else do wires work? Yeah, that makes sense.
Wireless technology. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna have a sort of inexpensive home solar system set up, and then I'm going to do a sort of like a review of this power bank. And then I'll see how the power bank's built-in NPPT controller works, even with my long run of cables. Right? It's not ideal, but still, I
What's
mean, it is possible.
what's your solar cell system going to be like? Was it going to be higher voltage, drop down quite a bit, or what? What have you actually got voltage wise in your panels?
So for the moment, it's a single 100-watt panel, so it's going to be about 18 to 20 volts
Not yet.
open circuit.
You won't get
But
a huge amount of
eventually,
gain out of MPPT for that. You probably want to double them up. If you can put two in series, then the MPPT works a lot better, and you get less loss of the
yes,
cable.
for sure. But at the moment, so the plan is to start with the minimum viable, and then work my way up, in the ranks. Especially, I've been trying to contact who is it, EcoWorthy. They're pretty big here, and SunPower, I think, is the
Yep.
other one.
I've got some
And
power stuff
I
myself. So.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the performance of one panel versus two panels versus three panels,
Mm,
because yeah, like you're saying, when you start putting them in series, you get less I squared R losses,
mm.
and that long run of cable gets affected, quote unquote, less and less.
Yeah, to a point. You also
And
have to be
so
careful about the MPPT efficiency because you might find the efficiency curve would be a pretty good curve initially, and you'll get some kind of gains and more increased efficiency at certain voltages. Then it will drop off again. It gets too high voltage because then you start generating too much internal heat in the MPPT as it's switching. So you have to, if you can find the graph for the efficiency curve of the MPPT, that might tell you the best voltage to try and target. If it might be double the voltage, it might be 36 volts, or 48 or something like that instead. It depends on what its efficiency is based at.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then there's also the question of having batteries on a 12-volt system or a 24-volt system, because I have two of these lead acid batteries, so I can set them up in series or in parallel.
If you can
And
do
so,
24, I'd recommend doing 24 because you can always drop down to 12 if you need to.
oh yeah, for sure. And so all
And
this is going to be part of the whole shebang,
mm,
with the goal eventually is to buy LiFePO batteries, LiFePO4
yep,
batteries, lithium iron phosphate. And the eventual goal, which will take a couple of years to get there, is to build a solar raft, really, where I can charge the batteries, over the course of a week at home, and then bring them into the raft and, go boating, basically,
oh yeah.
on quote unquote free energy. So that should be quite interesting. Hopefully people will tune in for that. But I mean, if not, then I'll just, I'll do it for fun. We'll just keep on keeping on.
Well, I
It's the
think the
only thing you
solar
can
power
do.
videos tend to be quite popular. I mean, I've seen there's a few other channels I've watched with solar energy sort of stuff. Like, is it Will Prowse is one? He does a lot of battery reviews.
Yeah.
There's a couple others I think
Uh,
I can't think what the names are now, and they seem to be pretty popular topics. So, I mean, solar power is quite universal. I mean, lots of people are interested, or at least know about it. And so I think there's a lot more interest on YouTube for that particular topic as well. So that might do you quite well.
and it is getting cheaper and cheaper.
Mm,
The solar panels, they've stagnated for the last, I would say, 2 years. So it's about $100 for 100 watts here on Amazon. But if you consider the inflation that's been happening in the last 2 years,
mm,
that means it actually became cheaper.
yeah,
So really, I think everything here is about a 10% inflation rate. It's getting pretty wild. And so these solar panels staying at about $100 means they dropped by roughly 10%.
yeah,
At some point they'll be affected too, but at the moment it's looking like a pretty good deal,
yeah.
about $1 a watt. So that's good.
I actually wish that
Canadian
when
dollar ain't worth much.
I built my motorhome, I don't know, 6 years ago, when it was 6, 7 years ago, because I purchased a small bus, 7 meter bus it is, and it's all set up as a coach. So I had all the seats and everything, and I ripped all that out and fitted it out as a motorhome to use at events on weekends. And so I obviously put all the solar system in there, all the electrical system, all that stuff. I did all that, and I actually wish I'd actually been doing YouTube then. I think I was just kind of starting it around that time. And I wish I'd actually been doing it then, because I would have recorded video. I think it would have been quite interesting to go through the whole process of creating a solar powered setup, and how the drawbacks of things to watch out for, and what things can go wrong when you're doing these things, and it's like, oh, my circuit breaker's a bit small for my inverter kind of thing, and it pops out from the times, that kind of thing. So all that sort of stuff happens, and there's certainly a lot of interest in it, I think. So I really wish I'd actually done that at the time, but I think at the time I wasn't actually doing YouTube. I think I was just beginning it, maybe. I'm not quite sure. Might have been just before.
I think if you have the time and the motivation to do so, I think showing it off would be a pretty good idea. Like maybe a video about the things you've learned, and or how you set it up or whatever. I think would work really well, because I think you can still capture that interest. Because I mean, like, just talking to you now, I'm already interested. Um, and plus, have you shown a tour of your bus?
No, I've done a couple of videos and some bits I've done. For it, I've done, I think I did a video on a automatic fan controller. I built a temperature, I can't say it, a temperature controlled fan controller. So it's got an extractor fan built into the roof, which is part of the factory installation. It's built in, original factory extractor, but that was manually controlled. I thought, I don't want that. Who wants a manually controlled fan? So I built a Arduino controller with a temperature sensor, and that, when it gets too hot, I can set the temperature of the dial on the front, and I can just tell what temperature I want to come on it, and it automatically keeps the vehicle a bit cooler in summer, because the heat gets pretty hot in summer. And it just helps to keep the edge off a little bit. It doesn't do a lot, because it's just so much heat, but it does take the edge off a bit. And that's one of the projects I did a video on. What else have I done videos on? I think I've done some on the Raspberry Pi web server, which I built, and a couple of videos on that. Those were for that vehicle. We use it for events. I think I've done a few other things as well. I did one on this is actually this is an odd one. I did a short little 2-minute video on a gas strut, right? Hydraulic struts used to holding it like a boot lid or a bonnet lid or whatever. And the one I purchased to replace one on the back, which has failed, was a little bit too long. So I did a short little 2-minute video of using a tie-down strap to compress this gas strut so I could put the thing on the vehicle, because otherwise I couldn't put it on. And that video has been really popular. It's been ridiculous. It's just like a 2-minute video of nothing really, and it's just gone crazy, that one. It's just weird.
I love those videos that have nothing to do with anything, but they just keep generating views, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's a really stunned me. When originally I published it, I thought, oh yes, it's done mediocre, as we were saying before. And then eventually, I think it was about 3-4 months later, it started taking off, and it just kept going.
I just replaced the gas struts in the tailgate of my Volvo, and those things are 1,200 newtons each. So that's almost 120 kilos of force each. And
Wow.
there's 2 of them on the tailgate. It's insane how heavy these things are. I mean, like I'm exposed to how heavy tailgates are and whatever, because that's my job is, that's automotive. But these things, instead of those long gas struts that you see when you open the tailgate, this one is all in the hidden in the roof.
Oh, okay.
And so you picture it's a cylinder about 2 millimeters across, and the cylinder body is about 10 to 15 centimeters long, and that's 1,200 newtons. It's insane how strong it is.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So now that I've had these things in my hands, now I'm thinking like, ooh, how can I add this into a project somewhere? Because it's a small cylinder, very inexpensive. I think they were $8 each or something from my usual scumbags. And now I'm like wondering where I could put these things like for maximum fun.
Yeah, sometimes it was quite interesting. You find these things. I wonder I could, trying to invent a reason to having them. Really, you got this. I'll collect these things, and what can I use that for? I don't know. I'll think of it one day. It's a lot of my mailbags like that.
Stack. I've got a stack of those things. Like I've got a lot of automotive parts. I just need to get off my butt and work on the automotive channel.
Oh yeah.
But first and foremost, the electronics channel is what's actually paying my mortgage right now. So I need to do that.
Well, just keep on doing PCB videos, and that'll probably help a little bit. Keep on making circuits, and I'm sure that'll keep your viewership up by doing those sorts of things, because people seem to like PCB videos quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that they're okay with it basically being an advertisement for PCB Way at this point. But I think I am doing a good enough job of making interesting things so that people want to tune in for that, and then they'll tolerate the ad things. And plus, like I've been pushing my contact quite a bit for letting me have the videos more natural, because I do see that some people put in like an ad where they show like the pre-filmed footage and whatever, and I just keep arguing that if you want more views, we have to avoid these kinds of things. Like, let them come see, like they'll click on the link just to see the PCBs. Like I see the stats. There are tons of people going to look at the links. That means they're going to your website. Everything is fine, right?
Exactly.
Like everything's good.
I had exactly the same debate with PC Wave when I was doing my original sponsorships, because I was actually putting little pop-up banners in the videos as little adverts for them, and I was getting a little bit of income from that. It's helping to buy things to fix, which is under focus of it. And they actually wanted more. They wanted those big, full screen adverts, as you've seen, like many other channels have been using, which I can understand from their perspective. It's big exposure for them. That's what they're looking for. Trying to get their money's worth. But I was like, well, I don't want to interrupt the videos and destroy the videos with something which people may not be interested in. If they want to look, they'll go and look. So I was happy putting those little pop-up banners in there, because I thought that was quite subtle, and it's enough for you to see it, but not enough to distract you from the video. And to me, the video was the most interesting part and the most important part of that, and not so much about placing adverts within it. So it's better than having to put adverts at the beginning or the end of the videos with the YouTube system. I very rarely put them in the middle. Very unusual for me to do that. Only if it's a really long video, I can sort of say people want a break by then anyway. But for short videos, it's only beginning and the end for the YouTube ones. But trying to put videos, oh, apparently lost connection. So trying
Yeah, I
to,
got that too, but I think we're I
yeah,
think we're okay.
yeah, still good. So trying to keep it so it's not destroying the video context by slapping a big advert in. I don't like that. So I had the same debate with PCWay, and what I've ended up doing now is I don't do adverts for them like that anymore. I don't advertise them that way because we couldn't really reach an agreement about what we were going to do. I didn't want to do much. I wanted to keep what I had, which is those little pop-ups, and they wanted more. So we ended up reaching a different agreement, which is to when I want a PCB, I'll say it again. When I want a PCB made, I'll get them to make it for me. So I'll just, if I get a project, I think I'll make a PCB for that. I'll design it, upload it to the site, and say, hey, I want this PCB, thanks, and I'll arrange it. That's the arrangement I've now got. So I basically get the PCB for free. They get the advertising when I do that project, and that's the arrangement we have. So obviously, the income side of that is much, much less because it relies on me doing those PCB projects to get that money, and stuff anyway. So it's in a way it's a shame, but that's what I had to do to make sure that I didn't compromise in the videos. It's a hard place to be sometimes. You want to try and keep your advertisers and your supporters and sponsors happy, but then you go, well, I also don't want to upset my viewership because to me the viewership's the most important part.
That's what attracts the sponsors in the first place, which is a little bit frustrating because it's like, look, man, you reached out to me.
Yeah.
So obviously you found me because of my viewership. I don't want to do things that'll affect that viewership because that's not what you want either, right? As a sponsor. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they listen to this podcast. So I think I'm safe to say, I did lose I did lose a bit of my, let's say, fervor in pushing back when I realized I needed the sponsorships and the Patreon in order to pay my mortgage
Yeah.
in these last little while.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like I've designed interesting enough projects, and the things that are the most fun even that I've designed are like infrastructure projects, like making LED panels and stuff to light the videos. And so I've managed to hang on to the decent viewership doing that. So
Yeah.
I think everybody's happy, which
I
is
think it's important that
what
you're
I want.
making videos that people are going to find interesting overall. I mean, if people are going to find it interesting, they will tolerate some kind of advertising because they understand that's a compromise that we as creators have to make sometimes in order to get that content done. So I think there is a level of tolerance there. So, but I think if it's constantly hammering adverts with, having adverts in all your videos, people will get sick of it and they'd leave because they just don't want to watch the adverts. They want to watch interesting content. So, it's trying to get that balance, I think, is hard. And I was fortunate enough because I am full time employed anyway outside of this. So, this is my hobby. I could afford to say no thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I feel like I might be in that position and this time in 2 years, but until then everything is so uncertain because being a automotive professor is like my dream job. Like, oh my god, I would not leave even if they, if they allowed me to be there 12 hours a day and do my work there for 12 hours a day all year round. I wouldn't even take vacation. Like it's so great. But there's like in the entire city, I think there's something like 12 jobs in the
Well,
entire freaking city. And it's a city of I think we're 1.1 million people now. So there's 12 jobs there across all of Canada. There's probably about 120 max, something like that.
yeah.
And so I have to bide my time and wait. And thankfully, I'm able to make ends meet, on YouTube. I almost penned a deal to add one advertisement to these podcasts, but the deal didn't feel right to me, so I had to walk away from that, and that hurt because that would have been, so just being a little bit personal for a moment, I'm able to just about pay all of my bills with my YouTube ad revenue, Patreon income, my affiliate sales, and the sponsorship money.
That's good.
All of that, and I'm just able to make it.
That's
And
good.
so, yeah, to pen a deal to add 2 ads a month, because it's 2 podcasts a month, it's every 2 weeks, would have made things comfortable. Like I would feel like I'm not treading water anymore.
Yeah, and
But
I
the
think that
deal,
that's kind of situation as well. It puts you under a certain level of stress. It's not just short term stress; it's long term stress. So it will be dragging you down a bit too, because you think, oh, if I lose one of these things, what's going to happen? It's going to be a bit more of a struggle. But as soon as you've got a bit more of a buffer there, then you can start to relax and then actually, be more comfortable, and does take a lot of stress out of things, and it does make quite a big difference.
oh yeah, and the deal didn't feel right, and so I had to walk away from it. And that was the crappy part,
Mm,
because it was so close. We were so close, and then it just wasn't right, and then I had to walk away from it.
yeah,
But
you have to do what you feel is right though
again,
too. You have to be comfortable with it.
exactly. And I didn't want to affect my viewership, because you know what? These podcasts are not about me.
Mm,
When I'm doing these podcasts, like let's say with you, my goal is to get my audience that hasn't seen what we're talking about on your channel to go check you out. So that's the reason I didn't want to decline viewership, or I didn't want a viewership decline on the podcast. It's not about me. It's about strengthening the community. And so that's why it was close, but no cigar.
yeah, yeah. Well, in time, I'm sure that the right sponsor will come along, and you'll be able to sort out something which works out mutually beneficially.
Oh, for sure. Um, any closing thoughts? Because we're approaching an hour and a half here, and the podcast host starts freaking out if the episodes are too long.
No worries. Um, no, I think we covered things pretty well, really. I mean, we've had a pretty good chat. I mean, we're a bit more relaxed this time around because the last time's the first time I've really talked to you, and I didn't know a lot about you at the time. I recently discovered you, so it's we've had a bit more interaction since then. So it's been a bit more of a relaxed chat this time around, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Plus, I mean, I'm also getting better at this. I wasn't, when I started the podcast, I was less sociable, I guess, and I was less, let's say, I was less able to tee up my guests for to kind of drive the conversation. But I think I'm getting better at this, which is great.
Mm,
But it's like everything else, you get better over time, I
exactly.
hope.
Yeah.
All right. So I want everyone in the audience here, I want you guys to go check out the playlist in the description on Scott's channel. And I want you to leave one constructive comment on one of his videos. Just one. If just let him know what you liked. If you really found something that you disliked, let him know that too. But I want you guys to go uh, check out the video and leave a comment, because that helps the YouTube algorithm. And while you're there, it's like one click, that little, gray box that says subscribe. Click on it, it becomes red. Everybody's happy. Or is it the other way around? Is it red? Then you
It's
click it, it
red then
becomes
grey. Yeah.
gray. Ah, there we go. So I want you guys to go over there and hit the subscribe, leave a comment. Please do that for me, because we really want Scott's channel to skyrocket, and then maybe he'll make it rain fluke meters in a giveaway or something. I don't know. No guarantees. I'm just saying maybe.
I think there's a hint there somewhere. Also,
So
if you
yeah,
do come into my channel and leave comments, also say that you came from this podcast, so I know who's coming to my channel from Dane's channel. It's nice to see what the crossover actually is.
yeah, and then that would incentivize some of the big players to come over to this podcast and have an episode too.
Exactly.
I mean, Dave came over, but Electro Boom
Mm.
still too big. Still too
Oh,
big.
I could ask him. I can ask him if you like.
What do you mean you can ask him? Oh, are you in that secret group?
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, you're not saying, obviously. Yeah, I hit him up a few times, but he must get like so much email, so I'm not surprised that he didn't answer me. Like the poor guy must get inundated with technical questions, with like, oh, you're the best YouTuber or whatever, all day. I don't envy his inbox, basically.
Yeah, I expect he's got a lot going on.
All right. So thank you so much for your time, Scott. And I hope everyone will go check you out and subscribe to you. And if you have any questions for us, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks a lot. Catch you later.